王になりてえ。力富全部手に入る。いや取りに行こうぜ、この世の宝の頂点。
Hey everybody, welcome back to another Bugster video. Today we're going to be kind of talking about Purple Enel and why I personally, as a Buggy player, I hate this guy, of course. But I kind of think that this deck is very, very strong. I mean, it has a 20% of the player base playing him right now, and I think that's for a very valid reason. We'll kind of talk about that, and we'll kind of go through how to play Purple Enel, some of these cards, and kind of what he's trying to do. So if you don't know, Purple Enel is a purple, of course, 5 life, 5,000 power leader. Under the rules of this game, your Dawn deck is made of only 6 Dawn cards, so you won't be able to go any past 6. Compared to literally every leader in the game who goes 10, Purple Enel is only going to go to 6. Activate main once per turn. If it's your second turn or later, add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set as active, then add up to 4 additional Dawn cards and rest them. Then give 4 rested Dawn cards to one of your characters. So what you'll do is basically after your let's say you go first, you can play like a 1 cost or whatever and lead past the turn. The following turn you will be at 3 Dawn. You can do a bunch of abilities, we'll talk about those in a minute, to minus Dawn or rest them or whatever. Then gaining an active from your Dawn deck and gaining the rest of your Dawn, basically getting all of it out of your Dawn deck on turn 2, giving 4 rested to a character and having 1 active. So we'll kind of talk about why it doesn't sound amazing at first, but we'll kind of talk about why Enel is really good right now and why 20% of the player base is playing him. So to start, we have a Charlotte Pudding. She's a 1 cost, 2,000 power, 1,000 counter. On play, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal up to a Sanji or an event card, add it to your hand, and then bottom deck the rest. So as you can see, we do run these Sanjis over here. We'll talk about him in a second. And then most of our deck is honestly made up of events. And we'll talk about why these events are really, really, really good here in a minute. Next, we have the Ohm. He's a 1 cost, 2,000 power, 1,000 counter. On play, Dawn -1, draw 1 card. When attacking, you have 6 or less Dawn cards, which you always will with this deck. On your field, give one of your opponent's characters -1,000 power during this turn. This is a key piece of this deck. Enel is very, very rushy. He likes to kind of rush other characters and leaders down very fast, and Ohm is part of the reason why he can do that. Satori, or here, is a 1 cost, 2,000 power, 1,000 counter. On play, Dawn -1, draw 1 card. When attacking, you have 6 or less Dawn cards, which you always will. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, place them at the top or bottom in any order. So it's kind of just, most of the time when you're swinging with Satori, it's not actually to do any damage, it's just to kind of peek at the top 2 cards. If you like them, you can leave them that way. If you don't, you can just bottom deck them, or you can rearrange them if you want. Next, we have Ashura. He's a 1 cost, 2,000 power, 1,000 counter. On play, Dawn -1, draw 1 card. And then, of course, if you have 6 or less Dawn cards on your field, which you always will, this character gains Rush. So basically, this is a rush character, which you Dawn -1 and draw a card, so he's neutral. That kind of ends the 1 cost here, the 1 costs, I should say. Obviously, the Charlotte Pudding is mostly just to find that Sanji or more events, while the Ohm, Shura, and Satori, are all about building pressure and doing certain things. So of course, the Ohm is going to be minusing power to a character, the Satori is going to be looking at the top 2 and kind of rearranging them or bottom decking them, and then the Shura is going to all be about rush. Now, you might be looking at the Shura like he's a 2,000 power rush character. Who gives a shit? Well, that's where the giving 4 additional Dawn to one of your characters comes in. So as you can see, most of these characters have Dawn -1, draw a card. That's very important because if you remember, if it's past your second turn, you can restand or you can grab 5 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck, 4 rested, 1 active, and then give 4 to a character. So what you're trying to do with Enel before we continue is you're basically trying to make the most use of your 6 Dawn while you have it, or how much Dawn you have, making the most use of it before trying to return all of it back to your deck to then grab it all back from your Dawn deck, giving it to a character to make them like 6k in these cases here, and then swing with that, while also having 1 active Dawn to give to your leader to also swing 6. It's a very, very strong leader, and the amount of stuff we'll be able to do with the events, which we'll talk about in a minute, it's insane. But moving on to the characters, we have a 3 cost, 4,000 power, 1,000 counter Holly. All of your own characters and this character gain double attack. On opponent's turn, set the base power of all your own characters and this character to 6,000. So not only will all your ohms gain double attack while the Holly is on field, they will also be 6Ks on the opponent's turn, which is really, really strong because especially since these are only 2K bodies, little searchers like a Mr. 3 in terms of buggy terminology, will be able to swing into this and kill it really easily. But if you have Holly on field, they become to 6k on the opponent's turn, but not on your turn. So it just makes it harder to kill these 1k bodies, which will now have double attacks. So you really have to invest a lot more stuff to kill them. Next, we have the Vinsmoke Reiju. She's a 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1,000 counter. If your trash is 4 or more events, this character gains 2,000 power and plus 5 costs, and she's a blocker. So basically, she's a 4 cost 7k, because the amount of events we run and the amount of events that we'll be playing, you're gonna be able to get her off to a 7,000 power easily. And also because she'll be a 9 cost, makes it a little bit harder for the opponents to get rid of her in terms of cost. Next, we have a Senior Pink, which is very important later. He's a 5 cost, 6,000 power. On play, Don -1, up to add one purple event card with a cost of 5 or less from your trash to your hand, then set one of your Don cards as active. We'll talk about why that extra Don card is very important, but this is basically just able to fish out any event that we need, and because Enel is such a toolbox deck, this Senior Pink is very useful. We only run one of him, of course, because he's not searchable, but when you have him, he's very useful for a card we'll talk about later on. Next, we have that Sanji we talked about earlier. He's a 6 cost, 6,000 power, 2,000 counter. If you have two or more fewer Dawn cards in your opponent, then in your hand, this card costs 3 less. I don't like that terminology. I think they definitely made it a little bit better with the Reiju's kind of wording. I think this is just because he's a block 2. But basically, if your opponent is at like 8 Dawn or 10 Dawn, the Sanji will become a 3 cost, 6,000 power. But not until. So if your opponent's at 7 and you're still at 6, obviously because you're Enel, he will still be a 6 cost until they get to their 9 Dawn turn. So basically, as long as your opponent has 2 or more Dawn than you, he will be a 3 cost, which is really, really good for later on. Next, we have our key piece in the deck, the 6 cost, 8,000 power SEC Enel. If you have 6 or less Dawn cards on your field, which you always will, this character cannot be removed from the field by your opponent's effects and gains 2,000 power. On play, Dawn -1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, add one of them to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order, and trash one card. So basically, this is a 6 cost, 10,000 power body that cannot be removed, and also is a top 5 searcher. Insane. This is probably Enel's major key piece. You have this body that cannot be bottom decked, it cannot be KO'd by effects, it cannot be anything except for rested, or cannot attack and stuff like that, and no rest, but it cannot be removed. This is part of the reason why Enel is such a horrible matchup as Buggy, because we cannot remove this massive body that we need to take care of. The only way you can is swinging into it. But we'll talk about why that is also not a very good option, because a lot of these events in here will insta-kill your characters the minute they get placed onto the field. It's insane. But this is a massive card. You get the search top 5. Of course, you do have to trash one, but it doesn't matter because you're grabbing the specific key piece you need for the following turn. You'll notice that's a kind of a recurring theme with Enel, is grabbing what you need, insta-killing your opponent's stuff, and then continuing on just building this insane board. So next we have the Divine Departure. It's a 0 cost. Main, you may rest 5 of your Dawn cards. If you have any given Dawn cards to your character or your leader, give one of your opponent's characters minus 8,000 power during the turn. Counter, you may trash one card from your hand. Up to one of your leader or character gains 3,000 power during this battle. So basically what this means is it costs 5 for a reason in Enel, and this is why we run it. So basically, let's say you have 6 Dawn. You will give one to your leader or one of your characters, then you will be able to rest 5, minusing 8k to one of your opponent's characters. Make sure you do have the given Dawn card first, because if you don't, Divine Departure won't work. The sim is very unforgiving. But for the most part, this is just a way to minus a shit ton of power. Let's say we have a 10 cost Buggy on field, that's 12k. This would turn it into a 4, which is insane. And if you remember Enel's leader ability, all of those 5 Dawn that you rested, that in most other decks are useless now, will be replenished and given to a character later on. So basically, if you wanted to, you could do the Divine Departure. Let's say we have a rested 12k Buggy. You will then do the leader ability, gaining 1 card, or like, let's say you minus it through events, which we'll talk about in a minute. You will then refresh your Dawn, giving 4 to this Enel, being able to swing 14 into 4, which the Buggy is now a 4. Insane. Next, we're going to talk about the Very. Honestly, most of the time I don't see anybody actually using the +2 cost part of this card. It's mostly just a counter event card. Main Dawn -1. If your leader is Enel, draw 1 card. Then up to one of your characters gains +2 cost until the end of your opponent's turn. Kind of useless. Counter, up to one of your Enel gains 2,000 power during this battle. So basically it's a 0 cost 2k. So it's just a 2k in hand basically. The cost I haven't seen too much use for. Elthor. 0 cost. Main Dawn -1. If your leader is Enel, up to one of your leader or character gains 1000 power during this turn. Then KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3000 power or less. Counter, up to one of your Enel gains 2000 power during this battle. So you'll see kind of a combo that's going to be built with the Elthor here in a moment, but this is a really, really good way to get rid of bodies that we're going to minus power with in the following, with some of these following events. You could even do it with a Divine Departure. Let's say there is a, there's an 11k on field. Can't do math in my head, I guess. There's an 11k on field. What you can do is do the Divine Departure, like you give one rested to your lead, or you give a Dawn to your leader, you rest 5, give me minus 8,000 power. Then you will -1 Dawn and KO that what once was an 11,000 power character, which is now a 3. You can KO that for basically nothing. Then you can use your leader ability and just refresh the Dawn and give it to a character, whatever. Very, very strong. You can kind of see why this deck is very busted, because while you are using Dawn, you basically, like let's say while you are a 6k leader, like 6 Dawn leader, I should say, sorry. You're a 6 Dawn leader, you're technically more like an 11. So everybody's like, well, he's a 6 Dawn leader, that's like, you're so far behind. You're actually an 11 Dawn leader because you make so much use of everything and all your events cost nothing, which is insane. There's a reason why every single purple deck in the game right now is just running Enel everything, because Enel is so good. Next, we'll talk about Lightning Beast Kitten. Oh, if I didn't say, I forgot if I did, your Enel will gain 2000 power, so it's also a 2k counter. Lightning Beast Kitten, which is 0 cost. Dawn -1. If your leader is Enel, draw 1 card, then give up to one of your opponent's characters -1000 power during this turn. Counter, up to one of your Enels gains 2000 power during this battle. This is pretty good. Obviously, the Dawn -1 is not as good as Divine Departure's Dawn -8, or power -8. But I mean, like the -1000 power is going to be really good for the Mamaragan card we'll talk about in a moment. Next, we have Lightning Dragon. It's a 0 cost. Main Dawn -1, draw 1 card. Then up to one of your opponent's rested characters with 6000 power or less will not become active in your next opponent's refresh phase. So once again, let's say we have a we block with the or like we swing with something, let's say the Mohican Kapaji. What you could do is Lightning Beast Kitten, do -1000 power to it, drawing 1 card, and then you could freeze it with the Lightning Dragon, making sure it will not become active. You can kind of see another combo there. Next, we probably have the best event in the game, or not in the game, in the Purple Enel's game, I should say, which is Mamaragan. It's a 0 cost, main Dawn -2, draw 1 card, then rest up to one of your opponent's characters with 5000 power or less. Counter, up to one of your leader or character cards gains 1000 power during this battle. Then, if you have 6 or less Dawn cards on your field, which you always will, draw 1 card. So I would say the Mamaragan play is really good, because obviously you can minus power with the Lightning Beast Kitten, or you can even Divine Departure for whatever reason, but you can minus power in a lot of different ways. Then you can -2 Dawn, draw a card, and rest that. The main part of this card though is the counter. What you basically this is it's a 0 cost 3k counter. Ideally, quote unquote, because you do get 1000 power for the battle and you draw a card. So let's say optimistically you do the counter event, you'll gain 1000 power, and then you will draw a card, and hopefully that card's a 2k, and it's like a 2k, like, right? So it's a 1 cost, it's a 1k and a 2k for a 0 Dawn, which is really, really strong. So I would say Mamaragan is insane. What you can also do is if they have like little shitty chump blockers, you can just Dawn -2, Dawn you've probably already used, and then just rest that and draw a card at the same time. Very, very strong. Next, we have the main kind of key piece you're going to be using with the Senior Pink, which is the... Oh, shoot, I got rid of it. Which is the Gamma Knife. I accidentally clicked it. So, Gamma Knife is a 2 cost, Dawn -1, up to one of your opponent's characters. Give one of your opponent's characters -5000 power during the battle. This does have a trigger. Add to one Dawn card from your Dawn deck as active. That's not very important. Gamma Knife, honestly, I would say, is the main killer for a lot of large bodies, because unlike Divine Departure where you have to rest all your Dawn, this one is just basically a 1 cost -5000 power event. Because, like I said, with Enel, if you're minusing Dawn, you're going to get it back later. So if this costs 2, and then you minus a Dawn, you're going to minus the Dawn you just used. So it's basically a 1 cost -5k. And then let's say if that body was a 10 cost or 10,000 power, like the SEC teach, you can then just rest it with a Mamaragan. Or if it's already rested, you can then use like 2 Lightning Beast Kittens to get it down to 3, and then KO it with Elthor. you can kind of see why this is insane and why this list is a little crazy, because even if you use both your Gamma Knives, you can then pull them out with Senior Pink, and because he only costs 5 Dawn, you're going to minus one of the rest of Dawn you just used to play him, and set one of them as active, you have just enough to play the Gamma Knife. And then, because obviously you can just continue using your rested Dawn to do more stuff, you can then just use Montmaragan, Lightning Dragon, Lightning Beast, whatever, right? So you can kind of see why Enel is crazy. I would say somebody, I think it was the VV Theory, I'm hoping saying his name right, guy who does truck talks and has the beard and everything, you know who he is. He talks about how this deck kind of feels like the old red purple law, where it feels like you have an answer to everything the opponent plays. Especially as Buggy and especially as some other leaders, you kind of just sit there and go, okay, cool, he's just countering everything I'm doing. He's either minusing power to my stuff, he's resting my blockers, he's building massive board, he's giving all these little shitty bodies 6k double attack all the time, and he has 11 Dawn technically to just continue doing that. Every single one of these key pieces down here is a tool, and every single one of these pieces up here is either to apply pressure, build blockers, grab more of those key pieces from trash, or to search for them, while it's also establishing massive bodies. It's insane. Purple Enel, unlike, I know we had a conversation about the UI Nami and Boa leader and how yellow was last time. Purple Enel is not nearly as annoying. I would say Purple Enel is actually, I would say, I can't tell if he's balanced or not. Obviously he's everywhere, so maybe he's not as balanced as I would like him to be, but he's not as annoying as UI Nami or Boa. I would say Purple Enel, at least from every single time I've played him, seems like a deck where you kind of just get high rolled or you don't. If Purple Enel doesn't find what he needs, like if he just keeps seeing a bunch of ohms and a bunch of other stuff, like the Satori or the Shura, whatever, he kind of just sits there and does nothing. However, if he grabs every key piece that he needs, he will slam the shit out of you. The only decks that kind of slam Enel are decks that get up to like 7k, or can get up to 7k. So once again, UI Nami, Roger, Red Blue Ace, a lot of those bigger leaders that have massive bodies that make it really hard to get over, those kind of slam Purple Enel. However, if Purple Enel, once again, high rolls the shit out of you, he's just going to rush you down as fast as he possibly can and kill you before you can get up to that kind of unkillable board state. And even then, he can minus 5,000 power to some of your bigger blockers and then just rest them on Montmaragan. So he kind of just has this crazy tool set that can just do everything. And while once again he's very good, he's been topping a lot of events. It makes up 20% of the player base right now. I personally don't really like playing this list or playing Purple Enel at all. I think it's very like how do I put this? It like, at least this is just personal opinion, it feels very much like a point and click adventure on The Sim. So you kind of just sit there and go, okay, cool, like I know what I'm gonna do. You know, like it's not really like with Crocodile or with some of the other leaders, you really do have to sit there and like, okay, how am I gonna make these tools in my hand work? It's like, basically it's like, okay, how am I going to screw this screw in with a hammer? You know what I mean? Like it's possible maybe, but it's much harder. While Purple Enel just sits there and opens up a literal toolbox with every tool in the game and just goes, okay, cool, I know what I need. Like that's how it feels like. That's just personal opinion. That's just based on how I've played them. But yeah, so this is the current list that I'm running. If there is another list that I've seen some people running, and it requires, I think. I need to look up Big Mom. Where is it? Okay, cool. So there is another list I've been seeing people run with the Count Niwatori, the Viscount Hyoko, and then also the, where is he? The Baron Tamago. This list is based, so the current list you see on the screen up here is very much the toolbox list. I think this is what everyone's kind of running to win. The list with Baron Tamago and Viscount Hyoko and all that is basically just like, I want to high roll you even harder. If they don't find what they need, they'll lose even worse. But if they do, you kind of just get fucked. And I'm not really going to talk about these characters too much because we'll kind of go into discussion about them later. But they're basically just unkillable bodies that let you search your entire deck to find each other and then just keep playing them over and over again. But won't discuss that too much. For the most part though, Purple Enel, at least from personal opinion, kind of feels like a deck where you have an answer to literally everything. And while that can be fun and it's very good competitively, because once again, you're never going to kind of sit there and be like, well, I'm screwed. Purple Enel, I don't think ever goes like that unless you just don't draw what you need, which is very rare because you draw a lot. I just don't like it because it feels boring, I guess. I know it's like skill intensive, quote unquote, because you have to know how to use the tools and yada yada, you know how to like DOM management and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I personally haven't had any problems really playing them. I mean, you win a lot of games, and if you don't, it's kind of like, well, I just didn't find what I needed. And for the most part, it really does feel insane. Like, once again, I would say the 6-cost SEC Enel is just crazy. For 6 Dawn, you are establishing a 10,000 power body, and you're also searching top 5. Of course, you're trashing 1, but it just lets you find those key pieces even better. And yeah, so I mean, that's Purple Enel. Don't want to go too much into the gameplay. If you guys would like me to play him, I can. Not the best Purple Enel player in the world, but I can go into some detail. But before we end the video, I'll kind of just explain how the whole, I mean, I'm sure you already know. We'll have Buggy up there, and we'll kind of just keep this, and we'll keep this. So we're going to go first, it's Purple Enel. So on our 1 Dawn turn, obviously we got the Ohm. So we're going to minus 1 Dawn, drawing a card, 1 the turn, and then Buggy does something, right? We don't really care. Now what we can do is, because we can use our leader ability, because it's our 2nd Dawn turn, what we can do here is, I would say we establish the Shura. We will then minus the Dawn we used to play him. Then from here, there's not too much here that we can do with our leader ability, but that's okay. So we'll gain max Dawn. So as you can see, we gain 4 rested and 1 active. And then we're going to give the 4 rested to the Ohm. Then what we can do is give 2 to the Enel, and we can swing 6. And because there's no enemy characters, we don't have to do that. And then Buggy will take that, and then we'll swing 7. And the turn, Buggy will just play like a, let's say, we'll try to do some of the other stuff here. Just trash these 2. And then we will end the turn. Now we're on our 6th Dawn turn, so as you can see, we'll play the Enel. We will minus a Dawn. We'll look at the top 5 for literally anything. What do we have? We do have an Thor, so we could do the Kitten, returning, and then we can just trash a Reiju. From here, what we can do is, because we do have the Thor, we can minus 1 Dawn, minus 1k. We can then do it again, minus 1 Dawn, minus 1k. As you can see, we're going card neutral for all those. And then we can just Dawn minus 1, and and then give 1k to the Enel, and then KO that. As you can see, like, I'm not going to go too insane in depth. As you can see, it just, you have so many options. There's so many tools. You're building such a crazy board. And then if you want, you can just do this. And then just stack all of it up again and just do it all over again. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. And like, even with the Ohm, you could minus 1k with it that way, and you don't have to use 2 of the Lightning Beast Kittens. So it feels like this deck that just has so many tools, and especially as a Buggy player, this is one of our worst matchups imaginable. He just slams these bodies with little, like, well, he slams the board with these little bodies that are just kind of hard to remove. He gets value out of them, and then he doesn't care if they die, because he's going to continue to play them. And then later on, he has this just unremovable body that's going to keep slamming you like a truck, and also just resting and removing your characters all day long. It's insane. So yeah, that was the Purple Enel video. Didn't want to go too in depth about it, but I think, let me know your opinions and comments on this deck. I don't think he's as annoying as Uinami or Boa. I'm not sure if I already said this part, but I think he's a lot more balanced. It just feels like, I'm not sure. It kind of just feels like you're going against a leader that just is gonna, depending on who you're playing, kind of just always know what to do. And it's really just a thing of, can he find the tools to do it, yes or no? Obviously, like I said, there's those 3 leaders, or 4, like however many leaders there are, that can kind of get over that the 6k power base, and also kind of do the same thing to him. But for the most part, he seems like a very strong leader. Obviously, he does have bad matchups, but I mean, 20% of the player base is playing him right now. It's insane. That's such a big number. One of the biggest I think we've seen in a while, except for, of course, like OP15 maybe. But yeah, yeah, that was it. So let me know your opinions on this guy. Obviously, much less like he's annoying, I hate him. Much more just like he's a cool deck. I think he's just very toolbox based, and maybe there needs to be something done with maybe the Gamma Knife or something. But yeah, let me know your opinions, and I'll see you guys for the next one.